The sound of rain pelting against the window was the only noise in the otherwise silent house. Lisa sat on the edge of her bed, her eyes fixed on her phone screen, fingers hovering over the message she had typed but not yet sent. It was a confession, an admission of guilt that had been eating her alive for weeks. "I can't do this anymore," she whispered to herself as she finally pressed send. The message was simple. "I need to talk to you about something important. Please come home." Across town, in his dimly lit office, Mark stared at the ceiling, the same uneasy feeling gnawing at his insides. He had felt something was off with Lisa lately, but he couldn't quite put his finger on it. When his phone buzzed, he glanced at it and saw Lisa's message. His heart skipped a beat. He knew this conversation had been coming for a while. With a deep sigh, he grabbed his coat and headed home. The drive home was a blur of wet roads and dark thoughts. Mark's mind raced with possibilities of what Lisa might want to talk about. He replayed their last few weeks together, looking for clues, but nothing stood out. As he pulled into the driveway, he noticed the house was dark except for the soft glow of the living room lamp. Lisa was waiting in the living room, her face pale and drawn. She looked up as Mark entered, her eyes wide with fear and anxiety. Mark felt a chill run down his spine. This wasn't just about a fight or a misunderstanding. Something was seriously wrong. "Lisa, what's going on?" Mark asked, trying to keep his voice calm. She took a deep breath and began to speak, her voice trembling. "Mark, I need to tell you something, and it's going to be hard to hear. I've been seeing someone else." The words hung in the air like a noose tightening around his neck. Mark felt the room spin, his vision blurring. He stumbled back, gripping the edge of the sofa for support. "Who?" he managed to choke out. Lisa's eyes filled with tears. "It was a mistake, Mark. I never meant for it to go this far. It was just one time, but I can't live with the guilt anymore." Rage and betrayal coursed through Mark. He wanted to shout, to demand answers, but something in Lisa's eyes stopped him. There was more to this story, something she wasn't telling him. "Who is it?" he repeated, more forcefully this time. Before Lisa could answer, a loud crash echoed through the house. They both jumped, hearts pounding. Mark rushed to the source of the noise, the kitchen, with Lisa following close behind. The sight that greeted them made their blood run cold. The kitchen window was shattered, glass scattered across the floor. Standing amidst the wreckage was a figure, cloaked in darkness, its face hidden by a hood. Mark's mind raced as he tried to process what he was seeing. Was this the man Lisa had been seeing? "Who are you?" Mark demanded, his voice shaking with a mix of fear and anger. The figure didn't respond. Instead, it moved forward, stepping over the broken glass with eerie silence. Lisa grabbed Mark's arm, her nails digging into his skin. "Mark, we need to get out of here," she whispered urgently. But before they could move, the figure raised a hand, revealing a long, glinting knife. Mark's heart pounded in his chest as he pushed Lisa behind him, his mind racing with thoughts of how to protect her. "Stay back," Mark shouted, his voice cracking. The figure took another step forward, then another, until it was almost within arm's reach. Mark lunged forward, attempting to wrestle the knife away. But the intruder was quick, too quick. In the blink of an eye, Mark was on the floor, pain searing through his side where the knife had slashed him. Lisa screamed, dropping to her knees beside him. Blood pooled on the floor, mingling with the shards of glass. The intruder stood over them, the knife dripping crimson. "Why?" Lisa cried, tears streaming down her face. "Why are you doing this?" The figure finally spoke, its voice a low, menacing whisper. Infidelity has a price. With that, it turned and disappeared into the night, leaving Lisa sobbing and Mark fighting to stay conscious. The pain was overwhelming, but what hurt more was the realization that their lives would never be the same. Lisa called for help, her hands shaking as she dialed 911. Mark's vision blurred as he looked up at her, his thoughts a chaotic jumble. Who was that intruder? Why had he targeted them? And most importantly, what would become of their broken, bleeding marriage? As the sirens wailed in the distance, the rain continued to pour, washing away the blood and tears, but not the pain and betrayal that now haunted their lives. In the weeks that followed, the police investigated the attack but found no leads. The intruder had vanished without a trace, leaving behind only questions and fear. Mark and Lisa struggled to rebuild their lives, but the scars, both physical and emotional, ran deep. Every creak of the house, every shadow that moved in the corner of their eyes, reminded them of that night. Trust was shattered, and paranoia seeped into every aspect of their lives. They never found out who the intruder was or why he had come for them, but the message was clear. Infidelity had a price, and they had paid it dearly.